Hey everyone, welcome to Nib Picking. My name is Steven. I'm an artist. I love fountain pens. Today we are looking at a pen that I have looked at before. There's a video on it. It's one of my favorites, and as a matter of fact, it's my first fountain pen. It is my Platinum Preppy. And the reason we're looking at it today is because this pen has been given me a few problems. It's been dropped a few times. It's been tested out, shall we say, by some people who were not very careful with it. So the nib has been skipping. It's been not working so well. So I bought some tools. I'm going to take some time to work on this thing and see if I can get it working like the day I bought it. All right, check it out. What we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this Platinum Preppy, which I have reviewed in the past. There's a video on my channel about this pen. But lately what's been happening is the nib has not been responding the way that I'd like it to when I use it. So I haven't been using it as much. And of course, this is a very cheap pen. It's between $5 and $7 depending on where you go to buy it. But it is a favorite pen. It's actually my first fountain pen. So I'm gonna do a little bit of nib surgery and see if I can fix this thing so that it works straight. Let me just show you with the paper today what it is that I'm talking about, how this thing has been functioning lately. So, well, that's actually a pretty good line. It hasn't been giving me lines like that for a while, but okay, as you see, as I'm drawing, as I continue to go a little bit faster, some of these lines are kind of breaking up. Okay, oh, there's a spot right there. We're getting a lot of this kind of like weak lines sort of breaking up. I'm having to put more pressure on the pen to get lines that I want, and so there's a lot of lines I don't want and a lot of just kind of like low flow, like this line right here. You can see up close there's a couple of spots. It's got it's not as smooth as it used to be, and it's not giving me consistent lines like it used to. So we're gonna see what we can do about it. And let me show you some of the tools I'm going to be using today. This is a pen loupe. It's a magnifying glass for a pen. I'm going to put this up to the camera so you'll be able to see up close what my pen looks like and what I think the problem might be. I got these brass sheets off of Amazon. They're varying thicknesses, and a lot of people have said they use it to floss the nib to give it that little bit of space that the nib needs in order to function properly and flow properly, which is, I think, what might be the problem. And I've got a little bit of micro mesh that I may use to smooth out the nib if I feel that it needs it. But we're gonna see. I've never done this before, and I figure I might as well do it with my cheapest pen because if I make a mistake, I won't feel that bad. All right, so I'm gonna clean out this pen, and we are going to get started on that. Okay, so having cleaned up the pen to a degree where I think we can get on with this, I'm going to put this loupe over the camera. And this isn't a very expensive loupe, but hopefully you should be able to see the nib up close. There it is. What I think the problem is the center part of this nib where there's where the tines line up. I don't see any gap or a space in between. Maybe that's gotten pushed together or something. Yeah, because I've noticed, like, there you can see a little tiny gap, but it comes together too much on the sides there. So I think those gaps have gotten loose, and I'm going to show you guys. This is my Pilot Kakuno, which is an extra fine as well. And you'll see even this extra fine line, you can kind of see that gap in between the nibs. I don't think that we're quite getting it's hard to focus here, getting the gap there that's supposed to be there. So I'm going to be trying to get that with the Platinum pen, and I'm going to use some of these flosses and see what happens. So here we go. I'm just going to take this and look at, there's different, let's grab this right here. Okay, so there's some different thicknesses here. This is the thinnest one. And then, or no, this one's the thinnest one. It almost feels like tin foil. This one's maybe a more medium grade. And then this one's in between those two. Not as thin as the thinnest, not as thick as the thickest, kind of in the middle. I might start with this one. This one is super thick. I probably won't use it for this nib because I'm worried about damaging the nib and spreading it too wide. It is an extra fine, so we want to preserve that as much as possible. Actually, this is a fine. It's in an extra fine body because I'd replaced the nib for another one that I had lost a while back. So anyway, what I'm gonna do, and we'll see if this works. So I'm going to try and take the nib and get this flossing between the two. I think this one maybe even be a little bit too thick. So I'm gonna try the thinnest one. And I'm gonna start by just pulling the nib right off and seeing if I can get, there we go. It's in between, and so now that it's there, I'm just gonna, ooh, that did not like being dragged in there. So there we go, we're gonna just try and floss it back and forth. I think the number of times that I take to do this is going to affect how far. I can definitely feel like a tightness around where the tip is. And I've never done this before, so I mean, if I even upload this video, it means I've met with some kind of success, but we'll see what that does. Okay, going to take a quick peek at this. Okay, already I can see, look at that, there's a nice little gap in there. And that might have done it. Let's put it back on the pen and see if that solves our problem. All right, we are back with the second try. Remember the first one, what I had going on here was a real inconsistency with lines. This is usually a very nice nib, especially for how cheap the pen is. And so we're gonna see what happens. I've filled this up with Noodler's Bulletproof Black, which is a pen ink that I often use with this pen. It's a nice, no-nonsense ink that doesn't really cause any trouble. So let's see if it's causing trouble with this. Okay. I'm giving it light pressure. I think I do see an improvement. It definitely still feels a little bit like the flow needs to be increased. So I might try this with one of the thicker grades. But all right, look at the difference before and after. I had these really inconsistent scratchy lines, and now I'm getting lines every time, and they look about the same width, which is that platinum fine, and it's definitely more pleasurable to write with. Still feels very feedbacky. So I'm gonna try the other one, and then if it still feels kind of like it's a feedback issue, then I'll break out the micro mesh. Okay, I didn't really bother to clean out the pen. I'm just leaving it as is because it worked just fine to have the nib the way that it is. So what I'm doing now is this is the slightly thicker floss, and I'm gonna try, okay, there we go. It fitted in the side there, and I'm just gonna try and see if using this is gonna kind of clean up that gap. I'm not really sure if I'm even doing this right, because I have not done it before, but this is what makes the most sense to me to do it this way. Like I said, it's better to probably practice on a pen that costs $5 than to do this with other more expensive pens. I do have a couple of pens that I think might be able to use a little bit of work on the nib, but I'm still learning how it is that that would actually happen. So there's definitely, I may have to cut this sheet in the end to kind of see if I get a little more, if I want to use it again, because it seems to be that the nib is tearing into these brass sheets. Let's see if we have an improvement in that gap. I mean, I see a gap there, so that may be an improvement. Let's have a look at it again. Okay, so I went ahead and labeled these. Remember, once again, we had the first time that I did this, or when I was first looking at it, we had that inconsistency. Second time, consistency a little bit more there, but still some smoothness issues. So third time, we went with a thicker brass, and I'm giving it very light pressure, and I'm getting lines. Yeah, I definitely feel an improvement here. But then we do have that spot right there, which is not good. It's pretty absorbent paper. But this has been one of my most no-nonsense pens. It's never given me any trouble at all. So I kind of want it to remain that way. So I don't want to make excuses for it if it's behaving in a way that I don't want it to. Wanting to just fix all those things. Feels like it is kind of improving in smoothness and consistency over time. I'm not going to go any bigger with these passes because I'm afraid I'm going to open the tines up too much, and then this won't give me the thin lines that I like. But this is close to how it used to be, so I call that mostly success. Still very feedbacky, so we're going to run over this with the micro mesh and see what we get. Okay, based on the color chart, which is a little bit hard to follow, I believe this to be the 1800 grit micro mesh, and we're just gonna run over it with the pen nib a little bit. I'm going lightly. This might be too much of a grit, but we'll see what happens. I'm not sure. I definitely don't have to put as much pressure on it. Maybe a finer grit. We're gonna go with the 4000 grit now, and just gonna run some circles around it, and I'm tilting it side to side a little bit. I'm only using this for pens, so I don't mind if I get a little bit of ink on it. Otherwise I might clean it out. But there we go. Oh, definitely an improvement there. This feels smooth. There's a little bit of a spot on the edge here. Oh yeah. Feels like the lines have gotten pretty consistent. With light pressure, I don't feel like I'm pressing down very hard with it anymore to make the thing work. I'm going to go a little bit higher grit. Now I'm going to go to 6,000 and just kind of see if that polishes up a little bit more. This doesn't even feel like it has a texture to it. It's just kind of... I feel like I can go lighter with my hand pressure on this thing. I'm going to do a little bit on the top of this nib because I do like to do reverse writing sometimes. You can kind of see the difference between the two kinds of line weights that you can get with this pen. Oh yeah, I'm barely putting my pen to the paper and I'm getting this nice, it's pretty consistent line. If I turn to the side, it starts to get a little bit of wobbly like before. And even of course, a bit more feedbacky, a bit more scratchy with the reverse writing. But yeah, I'm happy with that. All right, she's back from the grave. One of my favorite pens and definitely my cheapest, the Platinum Preppy. I'm excited for how this turned out. All right, great. Thanks for checking this out. So I decided to do a little drawing sample. Wasn't originally part of the plan for this video, but I couldn't help give my pen a little test spin. Sure enough, it functioned exactly as it had before. It worked really well. I highly recommend the kit that I bought with the brass sheets and also the loupe. Bought them separately on Amazon, but I'll put the links to that in the video description as I usually do. This is a drawing that's sort of fulfilling a double function for me because it's something I would do for work. I was doing a poster example to show some of my students the different types of motions of tectonic plates. We're learning about plate tectonics, so you get a little peek into a little bit of what my life as a teacher is like. I like to use art as a way to engage students, and I find students who are interested in art have another reason to stay kind of invested in my science classes as well. So this is, again, the 3 different types of tectonic plates in a poster form. Another thing I wanted to say, just as we're going forward, there's going to be a couple of changes happening to this channel. Nothing too major. I think the biggest thing will be that I'm planning on changing my name from Nib Picking to something else. Will be announced in a future video. Just trying to make good on some of those promises I made to myself, my New Year's resolution, setting up a greater thing, a greater experience for everyone, including integrating this YouTube with my Instagram, with a website that's coming soon, maybe even a shop where I could sell some merchandise and things to sort of help people to support my channel. In the long run, though, I think this is just kind of an evolution of the channel. Nothing much is going to change besides a casual mention from time to time about some of the other stuff I've got going on. Was really glad to be able to provide this video for you. I hope it was helpful. If you're having a nib on a pen that's misbehaving, this seemed to work, and I would recommend doing it. This is what I'm going to do if any of my nibs get stuck in the future as well. So there you go. There's my tectonic plate boundaries poster done with my Pilot Preppy, and it turned out to be just as good as new. So highly recommend this pen, by the way. It's a fantastic pen. Right, so I'm pretty happy with how that came out. The pen works pretty much as it did when I bought it, and it's still one of the best values for a fountain pen you can get on the market. It's one of the finest lines, and it writes in a way that's really conducive to good art. If you're used to things like Pigma microns or fine liners, I find that you can get a really nice fine line from this pen, and it keeps for many years to come, and a little bit of maintenance goes a long way in keeping it a very useful art tool that I will be using for years to come. All right, thank you so much for watching this video, for your commenting, for your liking, for your subscribing, and for helping me grow this little art community. I will be seeing you in the next video. Thank you very much.